NetWerk. April 2019, I get an email stating that I have been invited to a happy hour awards event. And like any other millennial, my first thought is, well, who else is going to be there? So I scroll through the email, manager, a manager I know, a director. Oh, that's interesting. One other lower level employee. Out of the 8 people that would be in attendance, I was the youngest and one of 2 Black women. And at that point in my career, I had really only interacted with 2 people that were going to be there. So at that point, I'm wondering, well, how does an event like this work? And why did I get invited? Well, I would love to tell you all that I had a phenomenal night as far as networking is concerned, and that I met so many people, but that's not actually what happened. I spent that night cultivating relationships with people that I knew of but had yet to engage with on a deeper level. And it worked in my favor. See, the director that was there, he afterwards started asking me for feedback on different projects I would work on. And the managers that were in attendance, they became valuable resources that I've been able to use every day since. If I'm being completely transparent, 2019 was a really great year for me. I was finishing my bachelor's degree after what seemed like a never-ending journey, and I really began to understand and realize how important networking was going to be as a process in my career. Again, if I'm being completely honest, most of my networking practice revolved around companies that I was working for. I would use this to fine-tune and gauge how well my networking was going within the company and then use that elsewhere. I've been able to connect with people in offices that I've never been to, and that's the beauty of networking. It takes you beyond your location and gives you experience and exposure to places that you've never been. Did you know that about 85% of jobs are filled through networking? So if networking is so powerful and so meaningful, why is it so hard for us to do? I would argue that we struggle with networking because we get this overwhelming feeling that we don't belong or that we're in the wrong place. Oftentimes, all of that work that it took to get you where you are is disregarded because of things that you can't control. And this tends to lead to a code switch. Now, when you hear the phrase code switching, what do you think of? What's your immediate response, and who do you see? A quick Google search is going to tell you that code switching is alternating between 2 languages, but my generation wouldn't really describe it like that. We would say something more along the lines of, code switching is a powerful means of communication used to reach someone where they are that you don't know very well. And you'll use code switching to get an initial assessment of how to engage with that person. Now, in order for you to effectively code switch, you have to reach them somewhere that they are, but where you two reside. This could either be on a cultural means, or maybe you all are the same age, or maybe you're from the same city. However it is that you try to do it, the 2 of you have to belong in that place. The more layers you wear, the more likely you are to code switch. Consider this. How many rooms have you been in where your age or maybe the person that you love or what you believe in put you at jeopardy of being judged? Or maybe the people that were already in that space felt like you didn't deserve to be there. We use code switching as a means to validate ourselves, to put others at ease, to disarm where their perceptions of you are going before they get a chance to know you. And you'll do this to assert that you are a safe, insert whatever demographic term you identify with, and that you have positive intent with and for that person. Now, if we put the 2 of those together, networking and code switching, more than likely, you're already doing a combination of this. My question for you is, how effective has that been? I work for a commercial real estate research company, and those words together sound like straight white male-dominated industry, and yes, that's extremely accurate. So how is it that I, a Black woman, in the 4 years that I've been with the company, have been able to reach people across our family of companies? Practice, networking skills, why, yes, of course, but also code switching. Today, I want to bring a few things to your attention, and tomorrow, I want you to use these things to do it better. So let's begin. Think of networking like the initiation of a friendship. When you were younger and in grade school, you probably picked your friends based on who had the nicest shoes or maybe who was more willing to share their snacks with you. You were looking for a visual cue, a visual green light, if you will, on if you should engage in conversation with that person or not. We do the same thing when we're networking. In fact, about 72% of professionals look to be influenced by a person's appearance, but then also by their handshake. Now, granted, we are still in some interesting times at the moment, so an actual handshake is probably going to be out of the question for a few months. But now more than ever, it's important to get the visual or verbal handshake from someone that you're engaging with. There was this really big sales conference that I attended a few years back with my office, and to kick things off, we started with a concert and happy hour. I was so excited. I had never really experienced anything on that level, and we had employees coming from all over the country just to attend this conference. At one point, I remember walking up the stairs and there were two women behind me who commented on the shoes that I was wearing. Networking is not just about how you speak, but it's also about how it's received. And you have to also remember it's not always what you wear, but how you wear it. So those two women saw something that they liked and took up a conversation with me about that. Show up knowing your audience, but still show up as yourself. Understanding this is going to help you eliminate the feeling of not belonging or not being there. The reoccurring theme of code switching is to reach people where they are. We do this when we engage in conversation with just about anyone, and as a Black woman, I have to be more cognizant of how I do so. So I look for context clues and body language often. Here are my quick 3 steps with networking. Assess, react, engage, or pivot. Now, this is something that's going to work in person and in the virtual world. Assessing is more so understanding, is this person open to speaking to me at this moment? And by reacting, I'm either going to continue to engage in conversation with them and engage, or I'll pivot and find a better way to engage in conversation with them. In the virtual world, this could be more like, let's say, assessing someone's LinkedIn page. If you decide that you're going to react, you'll go ahead and make the connection with them online. And then you'll engage with them by sending them a message or pivot by not doing so. Last year, I attended a virtual conference around diversity in commercial real estate, and I was extremely excited, but had no clue, once again, what to expect of this event. As the event started to go on, a few of the attendees began to drop their LinkedIn pages, and I had a few messages pop up for myself. Hey, this is so-and-so. We're attending this conference together. Great to connect with you. And hey, I see you work for this company. Do you know so-and-so? We did undergrad together. By the time the event was over, I had gained 50 plus connections from people in different stages of their career and across several industries. I want us to begin to think of code switching in a different light. Let's reframe how we see it. This is a legitimate means of communication, and we should start using it as such. The goal here is to begin to use this tool to further the reach that you're getting when you're networking. Across generations, usually code switching is more so seen as switching between what's presentable and who you actually are. But think of a switch. If it's on or off, there's still a circuit. There's a lot of times that people will think of code switching as even imposter syndrome, but you belong here and you've earned the right to be in this space. The saying that you have to work twice as hard to get half as much, it rings true, and any minority professional will tell you so. Recently, the Harvard Business Review published some research indicating that Black women and men were seen as comparably skilled in comparison to some of their other employees or people at the same level. And this research rang true when it came to activities like networking, where they were feeling marginalized or excluded, even though they had every right to be in that space. The more that we begin to use code switching as a means of communication and a tool to further our networking, the better we'll get at it. Like any muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. So at this point, I really just want to ask, are you ready to work the network?